Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking into this 90-day challenge that claims to make you fluent in English.
Yeah.
They're pulling this from a podcast episode that we found that really lays out this whole process. And honestly, some of the claims are pretty wild.
Yeah.
Thinking in English by day 90.
Yeah, that
How
sounds
cool would that be?
it's a fascinating approach, I think, instead of focusing solely on like textbook learning, it
Mhm.
emphasizes this total immersion, almost like dropping you straight into an English-speaking country.
Yeah. Okay, so let's break this down.
Yeah.
The first 30 days are dubbed Phase 1, and that's all about building confidence.
Right.
So it aims to train your ears to comprehend English and get over any hesitation that you might have with speaking.
Yeah.
It makes me think about how babies learn language, just like constant exposure.
Yeah, it's very similar. I think phase one is really trying to replicate that immersive environment that you would have if you were just in a place where everyone was speaking English. You're watching an hour of English movies or series every single day, and you start with subtitles,
Yeah.
and then you gradually phase them out. So it's like training wheels for your ears.
I like that.
Yeah,
And then getting to the point where you're relying solely on your listening comprehension.
exactly.
Okay, cool. And then podcasts are in the mix too, right?
Absolutely. So you're listening to podcasts like The Ranveer Show or TED Talks for 30 minutes a day. And podcasts are fantastic because they expose you to all these different accents and speaking styles,
Yeah.
which is so crucial for understanding English in all these different contexts.
Plus you get to learn about cool stuff along the way.
Exactly.
But it's not just watching and listening.
No.
The challenge also says you got to be reading, learning new vocab, and even like talking to yourself in the mirror.
Yes. And it might seem a bit strange at first, but mirror practice is super effective for building confidence.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You become more comfortable with the sound of your own voice speaking English. You get to observe your facial expressions, your body language, which are so huge when it comes to communication.
So by the end of phase 1, the idea is that you're just more comfortable with the rhythm and the flow of the English language.
Right.
You're not translating everything in your head anymore.
Yeah.
You're starting to understand and speak more naturally.
Exactly.
But what happens when you want to kick things up a notch?
That's where phase two comes in.
Okay.
Boost speaking speed, and that is from days 31 to 60. So we're moving on here.
Okay.
And the focus shifts to speaking faster,
Okay.
but more importantly, thinking directly in English.
Ooh. I'm curious about that. Thinking in English that almost feels like a superpower, doesn't it?
It does.
How does this challenge actually help you get there?
So one of the key tools they introduce in this phase is the shadowing technique.
Okay.
Have you heard of this before?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so it basically involves mimicking native speakers as closely as possible, their pronunciation, their intonation, their rhythm, almost like you're becoming their vocal shadow.
That sounds intense.
It can be.
How does simply repeating after someone help you think in English, though?
So it's about rewiring your brain to process the language more efficiently.
Okay.
When you shadow, you're absorbing all these subtle nuances of spoken English,
Yeah.
and you're training your brain to anticipate them, which
Yeah.
eventually enables you to think and speak in English much more naturally.
So it's almost like you're internalizing the patterns of the language.
Exactly.
Almost like a musician learning to improvise within a specific genre.
Yeah,
It's not just hitting the right notes. It's about feeling the music.
exactly. And alongside shadowing phase two also encourages you to record yourself speaking English.
Oh, fun.
It can be a little daunting to listen back,
Oh, yeah.
but it's such a valuable tool for identifying areas where you can improve.
I could see that being helpful, but also maybe a little cringeworthy at first.
It can be, but it's worth it.
What about things like idioms and slang? Like those always trip me up.
Yeah, you're not alone. So phase two really emphasizes learning idioms and phrases.
Okay.
You know, those colorful expressions that add personality to your speech?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I am very happy, you can say, I am over the moon.
Yeah.
So it really injects your speech with a more native-like quality.
Yeah, it's like learning the secret code
That is.
to sounding more natural and fluent.
Yeah.
But I imagine actually speaking with real people is still a big hurdle even after all that practice.
You're right. And that's why phase two encourages real-life conversations using platforms like HelloTalk or Discord.
Wait.
So you're putting those skills into practice with real people, even if it's a bit nerve-wracking. At first, it's crucial for developing fluency and confidence.
So by the end of phase 2,
Yeah.
you're understanding English better, you're starting to think in it, you're speaking faster, and your accent is improving. Wow, it feels like a lot happens in just 30 days.
It does. It's about consistent effort and active engagement with the language.
Yeah.
But the journey is not over yet. Phase 3 takes things even further.
Okay, bring on phase 3.
Yeah.
This is where the real magic happens, right? We're talking becoming fluent and thinking in English from days 61 to 90.
Yeah.
What's the focus here?
So this phase is all about solidifying your fluency and integrating English into your everyday life so deeply that it becomes second nature.
Okay.
Imagine waking up
Yeah.
and your internal monologue is in English.
Whoa, that's like next level.
It is.
What are some of the key activities in this final phase?
So they start with daily journaling in English,
Okay.
which helps you practice sentence structure, expand your vocab, and even develop your own writing style in English. It's like having a private conversation with yourself, but on paper.
I love that journaling has always helped me process my thoughts.
Yeah.
So doing it in English seems like a fantastic way to really make the language a part of like my inner world.
Absolutely.
What else is there?
This might sound a bit unusual, but they encourage you to have internal conversations with yourself in English.
Wait, so I should be arguing with myself in English now?
Yeah, think of it like you're narrating your day. Thinking through problems, anything that you would normally do in your head, try doing it in English. You're training your brain to think in English automatically without needing to translate.
Yeah.
It's like switching your internal monologue to a new channel.
Oh.
And it helps prepare you for real-life conversations, which are still a vital part of this phase.
So I'm guessing those conversations aren't just with friendly language partners anymore.
Exactly. Phase 3 encourages you to step outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Talk to strangers on platforms like Omegle or Hello Talk.
Whoa.
And these spontaneous conversations are invaluable for building fluency and confidence in unpredictable situations.
It's like taking your skills from the practice room to the stage.
Exactly.
But honestly, I'm a little intimidated by the thought of talking to strangers. I'd probably get tongue-tied.
Yeah, you're not alone, and the challenge actually addresses that they even recommend watching stand-up comedy in English.
Wait, stand-up comedy?
Yeah.
How does that help with fluency?
Well, stand-up comedy is filled with cultural references, slang humor, that requires a deep understanding of the language.
Right.
So if you can understand a stand-up routine, you're well on your way to mastering English.
That's such a clever approach.
Yeah.
I could see how understanding humor in another language would signal a deeper level of fluency.
It does.
It's like you're not just speaking the language, you're actually getting the jokes.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
And it can be a fun way to learn, but the final phase isn't all fun and games. They also recommend practicing public speaking and interview skills in English, which can be incredibly beneficial for professional development.
So it's about becoming a well-rounded communicator in English.
Exact.
Comfortable in a variety of situations, whether it's a casual conversation or a formal presentation.
Yeah.
Seems like phase 3 really takes all the skills you've built
Yeah.
and helps you apply them in the real world.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond just understanding and speaking to truly thinking and living in English.
This is so inspiring. Before we move on,
Yeah.
can we quickly recap the entire 90-day routine?
Yes.
I want to make sure that we have a clear picture of how this challenge is structured.
Of course. And I think a quick overview can be helpful for understanding the time commitment involved.
Yeah, okay, so based on the podcast, the daily routine includes watching English content for an hour,
Okay.
listening to podcasts for 30 minutes,
Uh-huh.
practicing mirror exercises for 20 minutes,
Yeah.
recording yourself speaking for another 20,
Okay.
texting friends in English whenever possible.
Yeah.
And of course, making a conscious effort to think in English throughout the day. Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
But also, it seems doable if you break it down.
It's a comprehensive routine, but remember, consistency is key. It's about incorporating these activities into your daily life,
Right.
not just checking them off a list.
Right. It's about making English a part of your daily routine, not just something you study for a few hours a week.
Exactly. And speaking of making it a part of your life, there's a really powerful quote from the podcast that I think captures the essence of this 90-day challenge. Okay.
The speaker said, "Don't learn English like a subject, live English like a language." What do you think about that?
I love that quote.
Yeah.
It speaks to the immersive nature of this challenge.
Yeah.
It's not about memorizing grammar rules or vocabulary lists.
No.
It's about making English a part of your world, your thoughts, your daily interactions.
It's about shifting your mindset from studying English to experiencing it.
And I think that's a perfect place to wrap up part 1 of our deep dive.
Okay.
We've explored the structure of this 90-day challenge,
Yes.
the key activities involved in each phase, and the importance of embracing English as a living language.
Absolutely. And we've laid a solid foundation, but there's much more to explore.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dive into practical tips for maximizing your learning, overcoming common challenges, and staying motivated throughout this 90-day journey.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Welcome back. We're diving deeper into this 90-day fluent English challenge, and this time we're getting practical.
We talked about the structure and the phases and the big ideas, but like, how do we actually make this work?
Right.
It's a big commitment, 90 days.
It definitely is an investment of time and energy for sure, but like with any worthwhile goal, it's about breaking it down into those manageable steps.
Yeah.
And, we've all heard the phrase, consistency is key, and it really rings true here.
I'm picturing those workout memes,
Yeah.
with the ripped guy saying just 10 minutes a day. But seriously, how important is consistency in language learning?
It is so crucial. Think about it, like building a muscle, you wouldn't expect to bench press 200 pounds after just one workout,
Yeah.
It takes consistent effort, even if it's just a few reps each day to see real results. And language is very similar.
Right.
Those small daily interactions build upon each other over time.
So instead of cramming for a language test, it's about creating a lifestyle where English is just a natural part of your day.
Exactly. And that's what's so intriguing about this 90-day challenge. It's designed to make English an integral part of your routine. Remember the shadowing technique we talked about?
Uh-huh.
You can do that while you're commuting, while you're cooking dinner, while you're folding laundry. It's about integrating the practice into those everyday moments.
I've tried shadowing before, and it felt a little awkward at first,
Yeah,
but I can see how it would become more natural over time.
for sure.
It makes me wonder, how does our brain actually learn language through this kind of mimicry?
Oh, that's a great question. And there's a lot of fascinating research on this. Essentially, when we shadow, our brain is working hard to process the sounds, the rhythms, the intonation of the language. It's like
Yeah.
we're training our neural pathways to recognize and reproduce those patterns.
So it's not just about parroting back the words. It's about training our brain to anticipate and understand the nuances of spoken English.
Exactly. And the more we practice, the stronger those neural connections become, making it easier to think and speak in English without consciously translating.
That makes sense. But let's be honest, motivation can be a challenge. Even with the best intentions, sticking to something for 90 days can be tough.
Yeah.
How do we avoid burnout and stay excited about this challenge?
Right. Motivation is a very interesting thing. It's not always this constant, steady stream. Sometimes it ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
So one strategy that works really well for language learning is setting realistic goals and tracking your progress.
Okay, so instead of saying, I want to be fluent in 90 days, maybe it's, I want to have a 5-minute conversation with a native speaker
Mm.
without feeling totally lost.
Exactly. Breaking down big goals into smaller milestones keeps you motivated and gives you those little wins along the way.
Yeah.
And it's so rewarding to look back and see how far you've come.
I imagine those small wins build confidence,
They do.
which makes you more likely to keep going.
Absolutely.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
It is.
But what about those days where you're just not feeling it when the couch and Netflix are calling your name?
We all have those days, and that's where it's so crucial to find ways to make language learning fun.
Yeah.
It shouldn't feel like a chore. If you're dreading your practice sessions, it's going to be really hard to stick with it.
Yeah.
So, instead of drilling flashcards, maybe it's watching a funny English language movie, listening to music, connecting with other language learners online,
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of this comes down to mindset.
It does.
It's about reframing language learning as something exciting and enjoyable, not a daunting task.
Exactly.
But even with the best attitude, there's always that fear of making mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
I know I've been there feeling like everyone's judging my pronunciation or grammar.
Oh, that fear is so common, but honestly, it's one of the biggest roadblocks to fluency.
Really?
Yeah, it's important to remember that mistakes are inevitable,
Uh-huh.
and actually they are incredibly valuable.
That's easy to say, but harder to believe when you're the one stumbling over words.
I know. Think about it this way. Every time a baby tries to walk, they stumble and fall, right? But they don't give up. They get back up and try again. And it's through those stumbles that they learn how to balance and eventually walk with confidence. And language is similar.
Okay.
It's through making mistakes and, more importantly, learning from them that we develop fluency.
So it's about embracing those oops moments and seeing them as stepping stones, not failures.
Exactly.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
But I do have a practical question. How do we actually find the time to fit all of this into our already busy lives?
Right. Well, it's a valid concern. We're all juggling so many things these days. But the beauty of this challenge is that it encourages you to find those small pockets of time throughout your day. You
Hey.
can't watch a full movie, listen to a 10-minute podcast while you're getting ready in the morning. You don't have time for a long conversation, text a friend in English. It's about being creative and making those micro moments count.
It's like that saying, we don't find time. We make time for the things that are important to us.
Right.
And if fluency is a priority, we can find those little windows to integrate English into our day. But with all this talk about practice and effort, I'm curious, what can we realistically expect to achieve after completing this 90-day challenge?
That's a good question. While everyone's learning journey is unique and there are no guarantees, this challenge provides a structured framework and a wealth of resources to significantly boost your progress.
Okay.
You're likely to see improvements in your listening comprehension, your speaking fluency, your vocabulary, your grammar, your overall confidence.
So it's not a magic solution, but it's a powerful tool that can accelerate your learning and equip you with the skills to communicate effectively in English.
Exactly. And beyond those practical benefits, learning a new language can be such an enriching experience in itself.
Oh, yeah.
It opens up new worlds, new perspectives, new ways of connecting with people.
It's like learning a new dance.
Yeah.
You're not just mastering the steps, you're tapping into a whole new form of expression and connecting with others through movement. It's beautiful.
It is. And just like dancing language learning is a journey, not a destination, it's about continuous growth, exploration, and discovery.
I'm feeling inspired. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's wrap up part 2.
Okay.
We've talked about the importance of consistency, finding motivation, embracing mistakes, and fitting language learning into our busy lives.
Right.
It's clear that this challenge requires effort,
Uh-huh.
but it also offers incredible rewards.
It does. And there's even more to explore.
All right, we are back for the final part of our deep dive into this 90-day Fluent English Challenge.
Okay.
We've talked about the structure, we've talked about the techniques,
Yeah.
the mindset shifts, needed to really make this work.
Yeah.
But now I'm curious about the real-world impact.
Yeah.
Have you come across any inspiring stories of people who have actually achieved fluency through this kind of immersive approach?
I've definitely seen some amazing transformations. While we don't have any specific stories from the podcast that we're referencing, there's so much anecdotal evidence online of people who were once hesitant to even speak a few words, now confidently navigating conversations, giving presentations, even writing creatively in English.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
It makes me think about how transformative language learning can be. It's not just about acquiring a skill. It's about opening up a whole new world of possibilities, connecting with people on a deeper level.
Absolutely. It's about breaking down barriers, embracing the richness of human communication. And I think this challenge, with its emphasis on immersion and real-world application, really taps into that transformative potential.
As I was revisiting the source material, one detail in Phase 3 really jumped out at me. Remember how they encourage you to watch stand-up comedy in English?
Yes, such a good one.
It's a clever way to test your comprehension of humor, slang, cultural references.
For sure.
But it's more than just understanding the jokes, right? It's about grasping the nuances of a culture's humor. Like the fact that this is included in the final phase suggests that at this point, you're not just speaking English.
Right.
You're starting to think like an English speaker.
Yeah, that's a great observation. It's about moving beyond basic comprehension to this deeper understanding of cultural context.
Hmm.
It's like you're no longer an outsider looking in, you're starting to grasp the subtle cues, the unspoken rules, the shared experiences that shape a language's humor.
It's like you've cracked the code.
You have!
And to me, that's like the most rewarding part of language learning. It's not just about communication, it's about connection. It's about bridging cultural divides and experiencing the world through a new lens.
It's about expanding your horizons and embracing the beauty of human diversity.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge of imagine yourself 90 days from now.
Okay.
You've committed to this journey. You've pushed through the challenges. You've embraced the mistakes. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel?
I love that. Imagine yourself confidently navigating a conversation in English, sharing stories, expressing your ideas, connecting with people from all walks of life. The possibilities are truly endless.
This challenge isn't just about learning a language. It's about unlocking a part of yourself, expanding your world, and embracing a world of possibilities.
It is.
So take that first step, believe in yourself, and get ready to experience the transformative power of fluency.
So good.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into the 90-day Fluent English Challenge. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Remember, fluency is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy the process, embrace the challenges, and celebrate every milestone along the way. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.